tardy. Can we do let me call the meeting to order for us. This is our final Public Safety, Finance, and Strategic Support Committee meeting of the year. Can we do a roll call, please?
Arenas?
Here.
Mahan? Jones? Jimenez?
Present.
Perales?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And first up, we have our review of the work plan. We do have one item being recommended to be dropped. Are there any other items that my colleagues wish to change, drop, defer? And if not, if we can get a motion to accept the work plan.
Motion to accept report.
I'll second, and then I'll turn it over to our public speakers to see if we have any in person or online.
There are no hands and there's no speakers in person.
Okay, thank you. Can we do a roll call vote?
Arenas?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Perales?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to our consent calendar. We have one item. We can get a motion.
Move approval of consent calendar.
I'll second. And we can go to the public.
There are no hands and there are no speakers in person.
Thank you. Can we do a roll call vote?
Arenas?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Perales?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now, we'll take us item D1. This is our retirement plans investments annual report. All right, welcome. And I don't see Roberto, so I think we have Jay Kwan here, the Senior Retirement Investment Officer.
Yes, not Roberto.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Chair and Council members. I am Jay Kwan with the Office of Retirement Services, and I'm here to present the report of the annual investment returns for the Federated and Police and Fire retirement plans. So I'll have just a few slides of context and then the returns for each plan. You may remember that the plans assume that the investment portfolio earns a certain rate of return every year. For both plans, that rate is currently 6 5/8%. Here we can see that it has become increasingly difficult to earn the assumed rate of return over time, largely because of declining bond yields. Bond yields, or the price of borrowing or lending money, have decreased significantly over the past few decades. You can see by the declining bars. The last year notwithstanding. The last row, you can see that the probability of earning the generic assumed rate of return for most plans was very high 40 years ago, but not so much now. And that's forced the retirement plan to take more risk, as measured by the standard deviation of expected returns, as you can see in the bottom row. So instead of being able to be largely in relatively safe bonds because bond yields were so high, the plans now have to invest in a diversified manner in a riskier asset allocation. So that asset allocation is largely what determines plan returns. Or whether the plans are in stocks or bonds, which is asset allocation, that has more impact on returns than what specific stocks or specific bonds the plans are in, and that would be security selection. So all that is to say that the plan returns for the one-year trailing period as of September 30th were -9% for Federated and -9.3% for Police and Fire. So for some context, global stocks and bonds were down anywhere from 15 to 20% over the same time period. The report attached on the agenda has fiscal year returns. So for fiscal year end 2022, returns were -4.4% for Federated and -5% for Police and Fire. Again, for the same time period, stocks and bonds were down anywhere from 10 to 15%. The plan's fiscal year returns reflect some mean reversion from the outstanding returns of the year prior, when Fed earned 29% and Police and Fire earned 26%. Also, I would note that despite the negative returns of the past fiscal year, both plans outperformed all of their benchmarks. with performance actually in the top third of their peer universe of similarly sized public pension plans. That's the entirety of the report. I'll stop here for any questions. The staff recommendation is that the committee accept the annual pension and healthcare investment performance report for the police and fire plan and the federated system for fiscal year 2021 to 22.
Thank you, Jay. We will go to members of the public first to see if there are any speakers.
Blair Beekman.
Hi, Blair Beekman. I guess this is the last committee meeting of the year for ourselves. Thank you again for everybody's good work over the years. We'll be leaving, and good luck to ourselves in 23. I wanted to be able to offer, with these yearly reportings of retirement benefit services into the future, you can always note the way that things are spoken about in retirement board meetings. They plan well for the future, and they offer things so you can see what's happening and taking place. I hope in 2023, if and where needed, that we can be open with ourselves in committee reports and committee agenda MOUs that can really work to describe what to expect in 2023. For as difficult as 2023 is going to be, it sounds like it's going to be a tough year for ourselves. We do also have planned 24 and 25 as really good years of government and community. We have good plans for those years, and it's just a matter that we can ride out 2023 and just stick to our really good practices. I hope we can do that, and we talk in those terms and make it open and make the uncomfortable year of 2023 as comfortable as possible in the hopes of 24 and 25. Thanks a lot.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. Any members of the committee? I don't see any of their hands. I just have one quick question, Jay. With sort of what feels as though maybe a big shift in the investment world over the next maybe year or so, and I know that there's this concern looming of another deeper recession or so. I'm just kind of curious what the conversations have been like on the boards, and if there were any shifts that were made this year due to sort of maybe a cautionary advice, or if we're planning in the year to come.
Thank you for the question. The plan does generally operate around a very long time horizon. So given the average expected life of the pension benefits for a current employee, we're talking 30, 40 years out into the future. And so we don't make as many often, I would call it intra-year tactical moves as you might expect. But we have made some slightly risk-off moves as the year has gone by. And then this coming spring, the boards will have a chance to update their expectations for the next 20 years, in which case we might see some more shifts in asset allocation.
Okay, thank you for that. And I appreciate the report. Seeing no questions, if I can entertain a motion to accept the report.
Move approval.
Second.
And can we do a roll call, please?
Arenas,
Yes.
Jimenez,
Yes.
Perales.
Yes.
Thanks.
You. Okay, that'll take us down to our final action item. This is item D2, our firearm regulation audit report. We have a number of people joining us here. Joe, I'm assuming we'll start off with you. All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you.
So good afternoon, Joe Roy, City Auditor. I'm here with Gitanjali Mandrakar, Abella Obi, and Adrian Perez from my office to present our audit firearm regulations. The city should update procedures around gun violence restraining orders and firearm business inspections. Also in the box are Lieutenant Donahue and Lieutenant Kidwell from the San Jose Police Department. Firearm deaths from all causes, including homicide, suicide, and unintentional deaths or accidents, totaled over 45,000 in 2020 across the United States. In California, the number of firearm-related deaths was 8.5 per 100,000 residents, lower than the overall national rate of 13.6 and lower than most other states. In San Jose, the figure was 5.1 firearm deaths per 100,000 residents, lower than both the federal or state rates as well as the rates in other large California cities. Federal, state, and local laws regulate the possession, ownership, use, and sale of firearms. The San Jose Police Department, or SJPD, enforces these laws in San Jose, including investigating and making arrests for firearm-related offenses. The department also initiates or processes gun violence restraining orders, or GVROs, that temporarily remove firearms from individuals who pose a risk of harm to themselves or others. They also regulate firearm dealers and issues concealed carry weapons permits. The city is currently also working to establish procedures around new regulations requiring gun owners to obtain and maintain liability insurance and pay an annual gun harm reduction fee. The objective of our audit was to review the city's firearm regulatory processes and policies, including a review of trends in firearm violence in the city. This audit was requested by a council member. So we had 4 findings. The first finding is that firearm-related incidents have increased in the city. From 2017 to 2021, firearm-related incidents increased by 25% from 990 incidents in 2017 to 1,240 in 2021. There was a dip in 2019, as you can see in the graphic, but subsequently the number of firearm-related incidents increased. The prevalence of firearm-related crimes varies across police districts, with some districts having seen far more than others. Over 40% of firearm-related incidents between 2017 and 2021 were in police districts L, C, X, and P in Central and East San Jose. Districts V, T, A, and E saw the fewest incidents over the same period. Aggravated assaults and robberies made up over 70% of crimes that involved a firearm. The largest increase since 2017 was in the broad category of weapon-related incidents, such as illegal possession or carrying a concealed weapon. Finally, the city has seen a significant increase in the number of privately made firearms, sometimes also referred to as ghost guns. In 2021, SJPD submitted 168 to the Santa Clara County District Attorney's Crime Laboratory for processing. In 2015, they had submitted just 1. The second finding is that state law is the primary authority regulating firearms in the city. While the California Penal Code is the primary authority for regulatory purposes in the city and is stricter than federal regulations, the city's Muni Code provides additional regulations regarding licensing firearm dealers, storing a firearm in a residence, and other requirements on owning or possessing a firearm in the city. As noted earlier, local law enforcement agencies such as SJPD generally enforce state and federal firearm laws. Currently, 2 sections of the San Jose Municipal Code conflict with the California Penal Code governing firearm sales. There's also another section that duplicates the state requirement around suicide prevention noticing. While state law prevails in the instances where there is a conflict, we recommend the Muni Code be updated to better align with state regulations. The third finding is that the police department should update internal procedures and conduct outreach on gun violence restraining orders. The city, like other jurisdictions, can use gun violence restraining orders, or GVROs, to remove and prevent purchases of firearms from individuals who are found to be a danger to themselves or others. There are 3 types of GVROs: gun violence emergency protective orders, or GVEPOs, which can be served by law enforcement officers with the approval of a judge. These orders last 21 days. There are also temporary ex parte orders. These can be requested by family members, educators, coworkers, or housemates in addition to law enforcement. Applicants must apply in writing in family court for these. There's also orders after a hearing, which are shown in the graphic as simply GVROs. These are issued by the court after one of the temporary orders and can last from 1 to 5 years. Since 2018, the city has filed over 280 orders. Overall, the number of GVROs issued in Santa Clara County is the second most among large California counties, with San Diego County issuing the most. The current process for these orders involve multiple parties, including the police department, the city attorney's office, as well as Santa Clara County and the courts. The SJPD's duty manual defines procedures for GVROs, but currently does not accurately reflect the current practice or differentiate between the different types of orders. Unlike some jurisdictions, the city does not have publicly available information about GVROs on its website. Also, the city does not conduct community outreach on such orders. To improve GVRO procedures and community outreach, we recommend that the department should update language in the duty manual to reflect the different types of GVROs and develop procedures on the current process for each, and also incorporate information about GVROs into its community outreach efforts, including posting information on the city's website. The last finding is that the police department can provide increased staff guidance and supervisory oversight for regulating firearm businesses. SJPD's permits unit regulates firearm businesses for compliance with the Muni Code. However, the unit can improve guidance on inspections by defining documentation requirements, expected frequency of inspections, and compliance guidelines. We found there were inconsistencies in how staff reviewed firearm businesses for compliance, and staff did not document compliance with all Muni Code requirements. Lastly, the permit fee for firearm businesses may not be fully cost recovery, as an assessment of actual time spent on inspection has not been reviewed for a number of years. To improve the inspection process, we recommend the department develop procedures to document inspection expectations and revise its inspection checklist, as well as reassess actual time spent on inspections. The report has 7 recommendations to improve the city's processes to regulate firearms. I'd like to thank the San Jose Police Department, as well as the City Attorney's Office and the City Manager's Office. I ask you to accept the report and cross-reference to the January 24th meeting of the City Council. And I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Donahue, I believe, for the administration's response, and we're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Steve Donahue. I'm the Commander of Research and Development at the San Jose Police Department, and I'm accompanied today by Lieutenant Jason Kidwell from our Secondary Employment and Permits Unit. The department would like to thank City Auditor Joe Royce and his staff for the audit on firearm regulations. As you can see from our response, beginning on page 49 of the report in front of you, the department has greenlit all the recommendations from the auditor pertaining to the police department. In addition, the City Attorney's Office has greenlit the recommendation to update the Muni Code to align with California Penal Code. We look forward to implementing these changes to increase oversight and provide the community with key information on gun violence restraining orders. And now we are here for any questions you may have.
Thank you. We will go to members of the public first.
I'm going to start with in person. We have Dave. You can come down to the podium.
Good afternoon. I'm Dave Truslow, and I very much appreciate the efforts of the San Jose Police Department and the Auditor's Department in particular. They just do a magnificent job. There are 5 points that I have. First of all, I completely support the findings, and I neglected to mention I'm also a firearms instructor and have been working with city staff to improve the safety here in our community, which I think we have an opportunity to do. A few items that were outside of the scope but yet relevant to the issue are the following. One is funding. It doesn't appear that we're taking advantage of the funding opportunities that are available. I believe the Auditor's Department did actually submit a report on that topic. Just a few days ago, the city of Tucson announced that they received $500,000 as part of a Department of Justice funding to target this specific area of firearms enforcement. So I don't believe that we're taking advantage of the money that's available. Another is relative to the gun violence restraining orders. Actually, California has something called a 5150, and it's more inclusive than the gun violence restraining orders. If people are dangerous, they really should be getting the help that they need and the assessment. This is beyond what the gun violence restraining order provides. So I would suggest that the training include 5150 type charges. Excuse me. Another is the, and really this is the big one. Well, 2. First of all, to embrace the community. That was one of the recommendations. There are a lot of us involved that have been doing this for quite a few years. We really want to help, but we need a mechanism to do that. And so that's key. And then
Thank
the
you.
last is.
Thank you, David. You've hit your time. Sorry, Dave. Everybody gets 2 minutes. Dave.
That's
Dave.
time.
Sorry, Dave. Your time is up. Thank you. Is there anybody else in person or online?
No hands online either. Back to the committee.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, Dave, but we got to keep it at the 2 minutes for everybody. Okay, now we'll come back to my colleagues. In here online, not seeing anybody.
I'll make a motion to to approve it and cross-reference it to the full council.
Okay, we have a motion and I'll second, and then I'll turn it over to Councilmember Arenas.
Thank you. I just want to add something a little bit more general to the recommendation 5D, which is to ensure completeness of inspections, including the document review of display of suicide prevention, domestic violence prevention, and local gun law resources. And I just want to expand the domestic violence to gender-based violence prevention. So I'll make the motion to approve and then to also replace any mention of domestic violence that we replace it with gender-based violence.
Councilmember Jimenez made the motion, so I'll just ask him if he's.
Before you asked your question, before I realized you had your hand raised, but I'll retract my motion. Okay, but we'll adopt those recommendations. Correct.
Can I jump in?
Go ahead,
So are you asking us to change the recommendation?
I'm just asking you to replace how you identify domestic violence. So domestic violence falls under gender-based violence, and I'd like to be more encompassing.
So I guess the question I would have, is this a recommendation of the department? Because our report is final. We're not going to reissue the report with additional language. So I would just want clarity on what the recommendation is. Is it to the department in implementing 5D, to do what you suggest, in which case?
Sure.
Okay.
Right. In the recommendation, you don't have to change the report,
Okay.
just the administration's response to the
Okay,
report.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. Obviously, it recognizes the evolution of the language that we use around some of these topics, so I'm perfectly fine with it. Thank you.
Okay. And I second it. I'm fine with that as well. Okay, no other hands. Thank you, Joe, for bringing this back. This was a recommendation, as some of my colleagues will call it, and I know you do, that I brought forward after I lost a good friend of mine to gun violence at the VTA Corp Yard, and really trying to think that summer on what more we could do within our scope of work. And this was one of the ideas, and there was a couple other there. And so I'm glad that we were able to see the conclusion of this audit, and that you were able to find some good recommendations. I look at the audits a lot of times that you're able to do, especially when you see them like this, where the department is responding with all green, which I imagine I could speak for the department here to say, right, it's always good to have somebody double checking your work out there and looking at what you're doing, your practices and policies, procedures, because sometimes, you miss things, or it's not perfect. And when you have the eyes of the auditor to come in and your team to be able to help take a look at that and ensure that we are doing things right and the best that we can, it's very, very helpful. So, and in that spirit, I noticed one small type error on your report, which I guess is too late to change. So, but it should be saying, I believe, page 18, and this is on the table of exhibits, and it says error bookmark not defined.
Yeah, we picked up on that. We're going to fix that on the online version. Thank you.
Traditionally, I'm not finding too many errors in the auditor's reports, but I did this time. So I got you, Joe. Okay. No other.
I have to give Adrian in my office the props for that. He was the one who caught it.
He
so
caught
thank
it.
you,
All
Adrian.
right. All right. Did you get a hey too late? Because no, but I appreciate it though. Thank you. I did. I happened to just catch that one today, actually. But nonetheless, not important context of what the report was. It was helpful. I look forward to the work that the council does, continuing to try and stem gun violence that we see throughout our community. With that, we'll take a roll call vote.
Arenas,
Yes.
Jimenez,
Yes.
Morales.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That'll now take us to open forum. And just as a reminder, this is for comments on anything that was not on today's agenda. And we'll go in person first. No, David, are you going to fill out a form, or you're done? Done. Okay. So we'll go online.
Online, Blair.
Hi, Blair Beekman here. This may have been one of the shorter PISPAS meetings that I've been in over 8 years. Thank you to everyone's good work over the years. Goodbye to some, and good luck in our continuation to others. I just wanted to note, I read in the SJ Spotlight the other day, they wrote a story on the future of the electronic billboard issue, and you talked about 7 or 8 places where you want to place the future of electronic billboards. All of those places were in commercial downtown centers and corners. And it really just spoke to the concept. You guys are wanting to promote surveillance and data collection technology practices for, the advancement of economics and law enforcement and the national security state. Basically, I was pretty offended, and I'm going to be pretty insulted if you're going to continue to push the electronic billboard issue. I'm going to fight you guys pretty hard on that issue. They're at the airport now, high above, monitoring cars. Let's leave it at that. I don't want you guys monitoring people with electronic billboards and then saying you're somehow innovative. You're exploiting people by doing that work. You're not being innovative. I think we should wait very much for the future of the electronic billboard issue, please. And I want to work really hard to discuss how we can talk about open practices, open data collection practices for the community to debate the process of what, how it can work. And it just has to work that way. You have to learn to talk about data collection more openly in the future. And good luck how we can do that. That's my final words to people. There's a future to this work. It's going to be important to our lives. It's not going to be pushed around the way it has been. It's going to be open and free and shared. Thank you.
Back to the committee.
Thank you. And just a note for the record, our vice mayor did join with 2 minutes remaining. And I think our assistant city manager, Lee Wilkos, would like to say something.
Yep, just wanted to, obviously, 3 of you now, Vice Mayor is online, but to the Vice Mayor, Councilmember Arenas, and Councilmember Perales, thank you. As this is your last committee meeting, this committee takes on some pretty substantive, important stuff. And all 3 of you have really rolled up your sleeve, whether it's bringing your own expertise, your leadership, or forging pathways with some of our joint meetings with the county to tackle issues that maybe we don't have sole authority over and we need partners. And so appreciate each and every one of you on behalf of Rosa and I for pushing you or for pushing us, you guys providing leadership over these important issues. And Councilmember Arenas, look forward to more joint meetings with you. And Councilmember Perales, look forward to hopefully you presenting in front of the PISFIS committee one day in your new role. And apologize in advance from myself and Rosa to Councilmember Jimenez for having to put up with us for a little bit longer.
Please, yeah, anybody else want some closing remarks?
And I'll just say, given that I'm the only remaining member of PISFIS, I suspect I'll probably stay on. So I just want to encourage you both to be nice to me, or else you're only going to get 1 minute, and we may not, in fact, have those continued meetings with the county. But in all seriousness, I wanted to say thank you for the leadership of Councilmember Perales, who's been the chair of this committee. It seems like forever. And I was joking with someone earlier that I try to show up at all the committee meetings, council meetings, but I also know that Raul's always here. He never misses a meeting. And so it was always comforting knowing that even if I did need to miss a meeting, he would have it covered. And so very much appreciate all the work each and every of you have done. And I don't know if Councilmember Jones is listening, but I wish you well too.
Yes, I am listening.
There you are. There you go. Well, thank you so much for your leadership on this committee as well. So appreciate it.
And actually,
May I say something, Chair?
Oh,
I'll hand it over to Councilmember Arenas. I'm just going to keep you waiting a little bit longer, Vice Mayor.
right.
Well, I'll start with you, Vice Mayor. Thank you so much for allowing me to serve with you, not only in this committee, but in general. And as a council member, I've learned so much from you. And I've have to say, with our chair, I have just a high respect for him. I'm going to miss him very much, and I'm going to miss a lot of the skill sets that you bring into what do you call it? Said he was the sausage making of policy, right? And your diplomacy, your level-headedness, and your willingness to just really want to make things work for our city. And so I drive a Tahoe. Please make sure you do not pull me over.
I know your plate.
No, in all seriousness, I absolutely admire you, and I hope that we get to cross paths in a policy format in the near future. And Vice Mayor, I hope you have a wonderful time in Costa Rica and you find yourself and you get that groove back that you might be looking for.
Go ahead, Vice Mayor.
All right. Well, I'll start off acknowledging our fearless leader, Raul. You've done an amazing job leading this committee, and I really look up to you. And where you lead, I follow. And you've just done an amazing job of directing and leading this committee, and it's been incredibly impressive. And Councilmember Arenas, you've been a fierce advocate for families and for children, and I admire your passion and commitment. And in those areas, I look to you and your leadership, and where you lead, I follow. And I hope that that you felt that I've supported you in your efforts and moving your initiatives forward. Councilmember Jimenez, you've been great to work with over the last 6 years, and we've created an incredible bond, and I really admire and look up to you as well. You ask a lot of really great questions and a lot of insightful questions, and I have taken notice, and it's very impressive. And staff, Lee, again, it's been a privilege to serve with you. We've had some good laughs and some great conversations, and it's been a joy and a pleasure. And just staff in general, from the city clerk's office to SJPD, the fire department, the city auditor's department. I mean, just up and down the board, everybody has been a joy and a pleasure to work with, and it's been inspiring to be part of this. And I think this is my last and final meeting. I gotta check my calendar and make sure they don't slip something else in. But I'm gonna miss all of you, and I'm gonna have an opportunity to go to Costa Rica and reflect. And I can tell you that I have an appreciation for my time on council and working with all of you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Jimenez.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell Vice Mayor Jones that with all your plans in Costa Rica, I want you to just remember something very important, that everyone has plans until they get hit. And just keep that top of mind as you're out there, pondering and thinking about the future.
Let's hope the Vice Mayor doesn't get hit by anything out there. But I guess I'll give just a couple parting words as well. First, I want to say thank you to my colleagues for your kind words that you shared. I have thoroughly enjoyed chairing this committee, specifically coming from working in the police department myself, and then being able to be on the policy side of things here. It has been a tremendous learning opportunity and growing opportunity, and I really appreciate my colleagues and the support from city staff. We've had a number through that I've been able to work through the years, but with us today, Rosa and Lee, thank you so much. There's somebody that's always sort of hiding in the background doing a lot of the work, and I don't know why he always does that as well when he sits in here, which is Peter Hamilton. But you can never really see him, but he does a tremendous job, always in the background, whether it's in person or not. And so what it's been a pleasure being able to serve as your chair for about the last 6 years or so on this committee. And so I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to potentially coming back and maybe presenting at some point in the future. So, but thank you very much to everybody. And for the final time, this meeting is adjourned.